George Soros, the big foundations, and large corporations have spent over $1 billion in the last 8 years fomenting racial division in this country. They have been pushing it as hard as they can, trying to get a white backlash against it to bring in a race war in America, out of which we will see the right of free assembly basically abolished.
We must begin with the events in Charlottesville, Virginia, where one person was killed and 19 injured after a car ploughed into protesters following a rally of white nationalists. It was truly a weekend of horrifying images. We saw Nazi flags and marchers carrying torches, tiki torches, by the way, because nothing says white nationalist quite like faux Polynesian kitsch.
And what happened in Charlottesville, Virginia yesterday is now bringing that about. This thing is synthetic. And anybody that buys into it, I don't care what color you are, is a chump and a moron. The white nationalists who hate people who aren't white are idiots, and I decry it. But I decry the media even more that covers for the other idiot, moron, conditioned racist of Antifa funded by George Soros and others.
And look, a protester being killed in the wake of neo-Nazis marching in the streets of an American city is the kind of tragedy that calls for true leadership from whoever is in the Oval Office. Unfortunately, the current occupant is this guy, and even after a few hours to think about it, the best he could do was squeeze in this response before a bill signing.
We condemn in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence on many sides, Above all else, we must remember this truth. No matter our color, creed, religion, or political party, we are all Americans first.
Wait, on many sides? This was a white nationalist rally. You have to call that out by name. There honestly aren't many instances in modern American politics where you can honestly think that guy really should have mentioned the Nazis, but this is emphatically one of them.
Americans are sick and tired of spin. They're tired of one-sided reporting. Here's the facts. I've protested the KKK and Aryan nations personally, going back over a decade ago, 15 times or so.
Yeah, the toothless white trash and their federal Gestapo controllers are not welcome here in Central Texas where the real patriots reside.
But just because I don't like those racist moron organizations doesn't mean then I endorse the leftist Antifa, which is the most anti-white, anti-Western, anti-capitalist, frothing, violent, hateful groups I've ever seen.
And you know who might take issue with his statement that the white nationalists had nothing to do with Donald Trump? The white nationalists themselves. Because here is David Duke during yesterday's rally.
We are determined to take our country back. We're going to fulfill the promises of Donald Trump. That's what we believed in. That's why we voted for Donald Trump, because he said he's going to take our country back, and that's what we got to do.
I've got to say, David Duke and the Nazis really seem to like Donald Trump, which is weird because Nazis are a lot like cats. If they like you, it's probably because you're feeding them.
So the globalists are going to look for opportunities like this to have clashes between different groups that are angry at each other, to use that crisis to then say we've got to restrict free speech across the board so that things like this don't happen again. So that's why Americans are enraged and freaked out. They're not racist, they're not in the KKK, but then they've been tolerant and open, and we've completely converted America to not being white. And then we're told by the Democrats, oh, guess what? Whites are inherently evil.
I've actually been labeled a racist and a white supremacist. I've been told several times that I'm not allowed to speak because I'm white.
Saying that we need weekends at major colleges with no whites, and whites can't go to the park, and whites need to say they're guilty and evil. When individuals have done nothing wrong, 99% of whites don't even have any slave owners in their ancestry. Meanwhile, the black nationalists run off and worship Islam when it had the biggest slave trade of blacks ever.
Anyone in their right mind would want to immediately and repeatedly disavow. And it's not like Trump wasn't given the opportunity. Watch what happened at the end of his speech.
Thank you, everybody.
Mr. President, how do you respond to white nationalists who say they're participating in Charlottesville because they support you?
they'd like me to sign the bill here instead of outside, so I think we'll do that. Okay? Thank you.
You know, for a second there, as he came back to the podium, I almost thought, well, maybe he's about to say the right thing. But of course not. He had one last shot before the buzzer on the racism clock hit 0, and he threw an air ball so far away it landed in the Third Reich. And for the record, even after he signed the bill, he got another chance.
Mr. President, do you want the support of these white nationalist groups who say they support you, Mr. President?
Mr. President,
have you denounced them strongly enough?
A car plotting a group of people, would you call that terrorism, sir?
But I'm not going to go through a whole history lesson here. Donald Trump's being criticized for criticizing both sides, saying both sides came looking for trouble and hate is dumb. And we should love each other and come together and take care of our veterans and take care of our old people and make America great again. And talk about the love in the room. But CNN read headlines that he didn't decry racial attacks or he didn't do enough. And they don't even quote where he actually said in his statement that we should love each other. That's beyond saying be tolerant, but we should love each other.
We must love each other, respect each other, and cherish our history and our future together. So important. We have to respect each other. Ideally, we have to love each other.
This is what we continue to deal with, though, is the globalists wanting to balkanize the country, promoting racism, promoting racial division, promoting that whites are inherently evil, the opposite of what Martin Luther King said. Don't judge folks off what color they are, but off how they act and what they do. Well, let's listen to Martin Luther King when he says that, because you go out and you go to one of these events and you neutrally sit there and watch what people in black outfits with masks beating people up, pepper spraying them, hitting them in the head with bike locks, you name it, are doing. And it is simply incredible. They continue to attack over and over and over again. And when they assaulted a female and male reporter for InfoWars, the police laughed about it and said, now this is an unlawful assembly. You can't come through here. You got to go right through there with a bunch of fences and the police marching them right in to cause the confrontation so CNN could have the headline, white supremacist, white nationalist, cause violence, when you can call the white nationalist misled, idiot, racist, just like the Antifa people. But you cannot sit there and say that they initiated the violence when clearly you watch any of the films, it's Antifa doing it, not just there, but all over the country.
So here is the problem. Here is the problem with that. A non-answer in a moment like this is an answer. If you had asked me, have you ever been aroused by the fairies in Zelda, the Ocarina of Time? And I responded by slowly and silently walking away from you, you would know exactly what I was saying. It simply doesn't get easier than disavowing Nazis. It's as much of a presidential gimme as pardoning a fucking turkey. It is almost impossible to screw it up. But that's exactly what happened. So there is clearly no point waiting for leadership from our president at moments like this, because it is just not coming. Which means we will have to look to one another, because incredibly, in a country where previous presidents have actually had to defeat Nazis, we now have one who cannot even be bothered to fucking condemn them.
Racism is evil, and those who cause violence in its name are criminals and thugs, including the KKK, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, and other hate groups that are repugnant to everything we hold dear as Americans. We are a nation founded on the truth that all of us are created equal. We are equal in the eyes of our Creator. We are equal under the law, and we are equal under our Constitution.